I wanted to share with you all a story about the power of claiming what it is that you desire to call it into being. So the first story was shared by Rich Lipfin, who is a coach and business owner I greatly admire. He was sharing a story about one of his clients, Christine, who wanted to work with people in exponential technologies. She was attending a conference and didn't want to write executive coach on her name tag. She felt like it might push people away, or it wouldn't really give her the opportunity to have the kind of conversations that she hoped for. So she decided to write founder of the AI Institute, and there was a longer name, but that's all, most of it I can remember. Because of that, because of writing founder of the AI Institute for Human Communication or something, she had so many more people talk to her. She had people wanting to get involved in her institute, wanting to be co-founders. And this institute didn't exist. It was a name. So what happened was, by claiming it and owning it, it was called into being. She had, instead of looking for, waiting for validation, waiting for funding, doing all, stuff we think we need to do to create an institute, she decided just to claim it, own it, and then open herself up to all the opportunities that presented themselves to her, which then, of course, called that to her. So she created this institute because she claimed it first. So in my life recently, I've been on this 43 days of cultivating joy, and I'm about week into my third week. And a couple weeks ago, I had written down on a piece of paper, Ambassador of Joy, with this idea of, this is what I want to step into. I want to be the person who is always, finding joy, cultivating joy, choosing joy. And so I didn't tell anyone. I just wrote it down and kind of had it, the top of my mind. Well, last night I decided that I'm going to make it my Instagram title, which sounds kind of cheesy, but what it does is it calls that into being. It makes it more real. So even though maybe I don't know what that looks like, or I'm, making it up as I go, it's shifting my focus to always be looking for ways to bring more joy into my life, more joy into my work, more joy into my relationships. And that's how I run my business. That's how I coach my clients in running their businesses. Because of course we need structure, we need strategy, but all of that comes much more easily when you're being led from a place of joy, when you're coming from a place of fullness, when you're coming from a place of trusting, I'm doing what lights me up and brings me energy, and the right next step will show itself when I'm in that right space. And when you're having difficulties, when you're coming from a place of joy, it makes those difficulties much easier to overcome. So example of this, I was in the military for 3 years, and we were going through boot camp. There were times, of course, that was really challenging emotionally, physically, psychologically. But there was a period of time, I even have a picture, where I just found a lot of humor in it. We were, getting hazed, and we were doing wall sits, holding rifles out, straight out, 90 degrees with our arms. And someone was running around taking pictures, and I was smiling. Because I was like, this is kind of fun. This is kind of silly. And that made it so much easier to sit against the wall and hold a rifle in my arms, versus if I was in a place of like, this sucks, and this is so hard, and oh my God, I can't do this, and all that negativity, I wouldn't have lasted. I wouldn't have made it 3 years. There's no way. But being able to, bring joy into even the most difficult circumstances made those circumstances not seem as challenging. And of course, opened myself up to, looking at things differently and new opportunities that I wouldn't have seen if I'd been in that place of negativity. So while I guide my clients, of course, to have strategy and the importance of discipline, and I'm finding that for myself, that's why I started this project, that I needed more structure around creating joy. It didn't just come naturally because I am sort of more type A and, very disciplined and determined, and my tendency is to work. And so having to put into place a strategy and some structure to help me really shift my focus into, okay, all of that is great, but it needs to be led from the right place. And so that is my claiming that I am the ambassador of joy. And we'll see how that unfolds and what that looks like as I continue in my journey. But wanted to share with you and ask you, what do you want to call into being, and what can you do today to claim it own it, and realize it's already yours.